Innovating Education Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.
What social role do teachers play in protecting the health and safety of their students, even outside of school? We discover another side of the profession. A fine of $800 for parents with obese children. This is the situation that many families could be facing in Puerto Rico, in a region where the child obesity rate is almost 30%. Would such a radical project be successful?
In Puerto Rico, almost 1 in 3 children are considered obese, compared to 1 in 5 in the US. Some teachers are trying to tackle the problem.
In recent years, in my sports program, we have noticed an increase in overweight children in relation to their age and height. That's why I started doing special programs for children, events like hikes, under the motto of child obesity prevention. We worry about the children because every day they're getting sicker.
In a drastic response, officials have proposed fining parents of obese children. The controversial measure requires teachers to monitor obese students, who may be referred to specialists to decide if their obesity is a medical condition or just overeating. If it's the latter, parents are asked to set a diet and exercise program. If that's ultimately unsuccessful, a fine equivalent to €735 could be imposed. Many teachers are against the idea.
I am against parents being fined. I agree that parents and children should be educated and nutrition should be improved. The curriculum of the school should include health, education, and more sports activities.
Many pediatricians are also against the plan, saying obesity isn't necessarily a sign of neglect. The proposal would add to the problems of children who are overweight due to a medical condition or genetic factors, they say.
We, the pediatricians, oppose this project. We know that there is a big obesity problem in Puerto Rico that has to be dealt with. We have to raise awareness, but not by charging parents with child abuse or involving social services and teachers. Health professionals dedicated to the child's welfare should be involved, pediatric nutritionists, as well as community pediatricians.
Many potentially affected parents are already struggling in an economy with an unemployment rate of 15% and low household incomes. For them, the prospect of a big fine is very worrying.
The economic situation doesn't help. Maybe one doesn't have 100% nutritional food at home because, unfortunately, vegetables and fruit are perishable and expensive.
Amid high poverty levels and expensive food costs, it may be hard for the proposal to achieve its aims.
While child obesity may be visible to teachers, domestic abuse is often not. On top of this, in many countries, violence in the home is strictly seen as a family concern. Let's find out how one NGO is tackling the issue in Albania.
It's estimated 3 out of 4 children in Albania have experienced physical abuse from a family member. Only a small number of cases are reported, as violence is seen as a family issue here. Save the Children is trying to bring the issue into the open through dialogue with parents and teachers. Pupils are being taught about their rights and how to report violence.
There are quite a lot of families in which they think that, educating children or family issues should remain in the family. And in this way, this makes child abuse in a way hidden.
These students have formed their own government in school where children can talk about their problems.
We have a lot of cases where children face violence at home from their parents. They beat their children and mistreat them, which is a terrible phenomenon for them, because when they're at school, they're traumatized, afraid, and they can't give their best in class.
Save the Children has educated thousands of parents and teachers that domestic violence affects everybody.
After our training, we trained another 200 parents. I personally trained parents, and I think this is a good thing when we know the needs of the children. We tell parents not to be violent with them, because violence produces only more violence.
Save the Children says more than 60% of the pupils say their parents were less aggressive after receiving training on positive discipline.
Before, it used to be different. Back during communism, there was a saying, a person loves you only if you beat them. But this is a different time.
Here at this kindergarten in the Adriatic coastal town of Durrës, the NGO has introduced a new programme to inform children of their rights from an early age and to build up their self-confidence.
For children, it was normal to see their father beating the mother, daughter or son. They would be saying it was deserved, but with time both parents and children came to know their rights better. These issues are no longer part of daily life. However, I can't say that violence has completely disappeared.
Since the project started, Save the Children has trained more than 10,000 children about their rights and how to report violence.
Abuse can come in many forms, and in the case of cyberbullying, it can be relentless and invisible to those around you. Speaking out to just one responsible person can often bring about a solution. Could that person be your teacher?
Sarah was a victim of cyberbullying 1.5 years ago when she was 13. Over 6 months, she received offensive messages on social networks. She isolated herself more and more and felt helpless when she tried to face other people.
It all started with insults such as, you're a whore, you're a slut. Then, during one night, from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., I received a lot of comments. Actually, it was non-stop.
Sarah received around 300 comments on the social network Ask. These were anonymous messages, increasingly aggressive and humiliating. Some urged her to commit suicide. But it wasn't just the internet. Sarah also had a hard time at school.
In the corridor, you would keep your head down. You don't look at others. You try not to catch their eye. One day in religion class, we talked about harassment. The teacher realized that I wasn't feeling comfortable, so at the end of the class, I talked to her and told her everything. She told me to talk to my mother. She said, if you don't do it, I'll do it for you.
Sarah found the courage to speak to her mother, and legal proceedings followed. Then, an officer from the computer crime unit gave a talk to her class.
Teachers must be the drivers of free speech. There are courses that can lead to a useful discussion. We must have the opportunity to address the issue and say, hey, what are you doing with computers? What are you doing with your smartphones? And a conversation can start, which will perhaps give the power to victims of harassment to say, there are people laughing at me all the time and I just can't take it anymore.
At this youth centre, teachers and students play board games on how to deal with cyberbullying. Participants form groups and take part in quizzes and role-playing.
The aim of the game is above all to start a discussion, to let people speak out who usually don't, and raise awareness that the internet is an amazing tool, but has to be used carefully. It's important that the debates start in school to educate children, young people, to be able to stand up to this kind of problem.
The board games and information films are part of a campaign, the No Hate Speech Movement, an initiative of the Council of Europe.
Did you have a teacher who helped you overcome a social problem? What did they do? Keep your comments coming on social media. We will be watching out for them. Goodbye.
Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.